Everyone who tries to lose fat eventually gets to that point where their lower belly fat just refuses to move. You may be doing everything right, eating well, training hard, getting your steps in, but that pouch at the bottom of your stomach that you can pinch is still there, and that's the most frustrating thing ever. But there's actually a strategy you can use to get rid of it, and in fact, I use that strategy myself to get rid of mine after years of frustration. So once you understand what I'm going to tell you in this video, you'll be able to finally get rid of yours too. Firstly, it's so important you understand this though. Fat loss is not fair and it's also not linear. Yes, you can want a six pack or you can want a flat stomach, but ultimately you have no say in the matter and your body is going to pull fat from wherever's easiest first. So please don't listen to any of those idiots on social media who tell you some special crunch or drinking green tea with lemon and peppercorns is going to somehow get rid of your lower belly fat, because it just does not work like that. But the good news is there are certain factors that are in your control that does impact your lower belly fat. But before I get into those, let me tell you what you do not control. Firstly, your genetics play a huge role. Some people just naturally store more fat around their belly and their love handles, and for other people it's around their arms and their shoulders. You can take two guys that are exactly the same body fat percentage, and one will have nearly visible abs and the other will have a round belly. And as frustrating as that is, you cannot change it. So there's no point even thinking about it or trying to use it as an excuse. It is what it is. Just work with what you were given. I used to spend so much time complaining and being annoyed about the genetics I was given, but that was just entirely wasted time. As soon as I forgot about that and started focusing on what I could actually control, that's when I started seeing results. Secondly, different areas in your body have different receptors known as alpha and beta. And without getting too sciencey, alpha receptors tell fat to stay put, whereas beta receptors tell fat cells to release. 95% of people have more alpha receptors and less beta receptors around their lower belly. That's why it can feel impossible sometimes to lose fat in that area. You can't move those receptors or train them away. So again, it's just something you cannot control. And thirdly, everyone has a different fat distribution pattern based on how you went through puberty, your hormone levels, and long-term biological factors, which basically means that it's predetermined where your fat comes off from first and where it comes off from last. Unfortunately, there's absolutely nothing you can do to change the order of that, and if I ever find a way to do so, I'll be sure to make a video on it. Fortunately though, there are lots of factors that are in your control, and I'm going to get into those right now, but before that, if you didn't know already, if you click the second link in the description, over the next 17 days, I will send you 17 emails containing the exact blueprint I personally used to lose 70 pounds of body fat. So make sure you go and grab that straight after this video. So what are the factors you can control that's going to help you get rid of that lower belly fat? Well, firstly, your stress levels. You could be in a calorie deficit, be eating all the right foods, be getting your steps in, some cardio, going to the gym, but if your stress levels are too high, your body's going to hold on to belly fat. In today's world, stress comes at us from every angle: work pressure, relationship trouble, family issues, and for a lot of people, it's just unavoidable. But too much stress is going to skyrocket your cortisol levels, which directly tells your body to store more fat around your midsection. This happens because your nervous system can't tell where the stress is coming from. So for all it knows, you're about to face a famine, so it stores more fat there as an emergency reserve in case the worst does happen. And not only is there a biological impact of stress, but also when you're stressed, how likely are you to stick to your diet, to go to the gym, to do everything you're supposed to be doing? When I used to go through crazy periods of stress, eventually I would crack and I would just say fuck it. I would skip the gym for a week, stop getting my steps in, and order some dessert on delivery because I thought that would make me feel better. And I see that happen to so many people. And look, obviously if you're doing everything right, even if you're stressed, that belly fat will eventually disappear. I'm not going to talk shit and say that stressed people can't lose lower belly fat. But the point is, the more you can minimize that stress, the easier things become. So minimize it where you can. The second factor you control is the quantity and the quality of your sleep. The average person sleeps around 6.5 hours, and then people wonder why their belly fat won't budge. Here's the thing: poor sleep lowers your test levels and increases your cortisol, which again tells your body to store more fat around your midsection. But it also messes up your hunger hormones. Your ghrelin goes up and your leptin comes down, which causes you to feel more hungry and crave snacks more often. That creates a perfect storm where losing lower belly fat feels impossible. And you don't need to implement some crazy sleep ritual. Just get 8 hours as often as you can and things again become so much easier. Also, alcohol consumption is something that's in your control unless you're an alcoholic, in which case stop watching this video and go and get help for that before you try and lose fat. What a lot of people don't realize is alcohol is probably the worst thing you can partake in if your goal is to lose fat, especially lower belly fat. It destroys the quantity and the quality of your sleep, and we just discussed how bad that is. And it quite literally stops your body from breaking down fat, because instead of doing that, your body has to focus on breaking down the alcohol that you've consumed. And where do you think the excess calories that are coming from that beer, that wine, or those spirits are going? straight to your belly. And the biggest factor that is entirely in your control are your daily habits. So many people come to me and they say, Aidan, I think it's just my diet plan or my workout program. That's why things aren't going well. And I say, okay, break down your habits to me. And their day-to-day habits are going against entirely what they want to do, which is lose that lower belly fat, so you have to change them. So right now I'm going to give you 4 simple, easy habits you can implement from today that are going to help you get rid of that lower belly. Firstly, a daily walk outside. And I don't mean the walk where you go to the corner shop or your commute to work. I mean a purposeful 15 to 20 minute walk. Firstly, walking is great for burning calories, so it helps you stay in a calorie deficit without feeling miserable. But secondly, doing it outside is also going to lower your cortisol levels, which helps to get rid of that stubborn belly fat. The reason it's better to do it outside as well is because you're also going to get sunlight and fresh air, which is going to relax you more. Treadmill walking and getting your steps in whilst you're doing something else, like going to the supermarket or on your way to work, is absolutely great, but a purposeful walk is completely different. I used to hate the thought of going for a walk, hate it. And eventually, after forcing myself to do so for a week or two, I started to enjoy it. And slowly but surely, it's become my favorite part of the day. I literally love going for an evening walk and a morning walk. You can start with 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and just work your way up. And I promise you, eventually you will enjoy it. The second habit is no phone 1 hour before bed. And I know what you're saying right now, well, that just seems too simple and easy. Well, if it is, then do it. When you scroll too soon before you sleep, your brain is getting hit with stress, dopamine spikes, and it's being overstimulated. And that combination makes it so much harder to get to sleep, which, as you know, has a huge impact on belly fat storage. And look, at the end of the day, whatever you're doing on your phone, whether it's scrolling through TikTok or texting your girlfriend, can wait until tomorrow. Is it really that important that you have to reply right before you're going to bed? Put your phone down even 30 minutes before bed to start with, and you'll be able to get to sleep faster and sleep much deeper. And the next day you're going to wake up feeling more energetic, less hungry, and your hormone levels will finally be balanced to the point where lower belly fat disappears. Next up, stop eating 2 to 3 hours before you go to bed. And no, not because eating at night magically makes you put on more fat, but because when you eat too close to when you sleep, your body's going to focus its resources on digesting that food rather than getting deep restorative sleep. Deep sleep is where test is produced and where cortisol drops. It's also where recovery and regeneration happens and where fat burning increases. So if your body is too busy focusing on digesting food, you're missing out on most of the benefits of sleep. Stopping 2 or 3 hours before you go to sleep is going to make your sleep so much better, and you'll wake up the next day feeling on top of the world. Again, it's such a small and simple habit, but it makes so much difference. And then the biggest one of all, cutting back on or cutting out alcohol. Because again, nothing stops belly fat loss as much as alcohol does. Personally, in the last 11 months, I've had just 2 glasses of wine. And I used to actually drink quite a lot before that. When I say a lot, maybe 3 or 4 pints twice a week. And look, I'm not saying you have to cut out alcohol completely like I have. But what you should be doing, if you're having more than a couple drinks a week, you need to cut back. And I'm not saying that because I'm against alcohol. I'm saying that because I know from personal experience how much easier it is to lose belly fat when you reduce alcohol intake. So you decide, what do you want more? Do you want a flat belly? Do you want to feel good? Do you want to look good? Do you want to be confident? Or do you want to drink alcohol regularly? That's up to you. So if you implement those 4 habits, or even if you start with 2 or 3, I can guarantee you belly fat loss is going to feel so much easier. And you watching this video right now, you can do that with relative ease. These habits aren't crazy and complex. You can implement them today and they will start having an effect over the next week. But there's something that a lot of people don't realize, and it's the leaner you get, the slower the changes happen. When you first start losing fat, things just happen so quickly. Your arms look leaner, your shoulders look leaner, your face sharpens up, but eventually it slows down. And that lower belly fat is usually the last place your body taps into. So you have to stay in a calorie deficit for a relatively long time and be patient. Because what a lot of people do is they see the fat loss slows down and they suddenly panic and say, shit, it's my diet, it's my workout program, I need to change everything, I need to overhaul it all. And what that does is it puts them right back to square one because they aren't tracking as well, they don't really know what they're doing anymore, and they're doing something that they're not used to. So eventually they slip up and that belly never goes anywhere. So look, just stick it out, keep doing the right things, show up day after day after day, and eventually you will have the body that you want. And look, if you want my help, where I will personally coach you through the exact system that I use to lose 70 pounds of fat and the same system that I've used to transform countless clients, click the first link in the description. Other than that, I hope this video helped. If it did, leave it a like, share with a friend, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.